name's Jeff Ross, Mike's hot, let's ride. Caffeinated kangaroo with a crew worldwide. From Tassie to LA, we flip the script. Helping burnt out dads let the hustle shift. This ain't hype, it's purpose and play. Building biz with soul, the laptop dad way. Reels AI, freedom in your grip. With a boom sauce beat and a real talk tip. So grab your brew, hit play, let's roll. You're the hero now, we're just here to soul. Let's bounce, legend, in the awesome town where kangaroos coach and kings wear crowns. This is the Laptop Lifestyle Dad Show, boom sauce, baby.
There we go, get the dad dance going. This is boom sauce, baby. All right, let's rock and roll. We're going to do something a little bit different today. You may be noticing us jumping up live here quite regularly, just the two of us. And that's because we've got some pretty exciting stuff that we're about to share towards the end of July. But today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. We're going to do interview style, podcast interview style, if you will. And today's guest is Dave Miller, our AI strategist, innovator, and systems behind, everything LLD. So let's get this party started. And for those of you who don't know who I am, my name's Jeff Ross. I'm the founder of Laptop Lifestyle Dad Show. I'm your caffeinated kangaroo tour guide through the wild world of social selling, storytelling, and AI-powered business freedom. Now that you've heard me talk about the future of AI in that space, we're going to shift gears. We're going to hear about Dave today and hear his point of view of what we see for the future of AI and social selling. I'm bringing on this guy because he is my go-to everything AI. And he's the guy I want to see when I turn around the corner. The tech whisperer behind some of the most powerful builds that we're putting together here to serve our amazing community. He's the brain behind, all of our custom GPTs and everything AI, the architect of some of our funnels. It just don't look good. Jade helps us to make things look good, but Dave helps with the automation side of things to help everything convert like crazy. And he's one of the smartest, heart-centered driven people that I know. So Dave, welcome to the show, brother. Let's dive in and to all things future of what's happening with AI space and what's next for the LLD community. So Dave, let's kick it off with your story. How did you get started with AI, and when did you realize that this wasn't just a trend, but it was a total paradigm shift?
Well, I think probably about 6 months, I think, roughly, give or take a little bit before I met you. I would have got started in AI. And I've always been into tech and computers and stuff like that, even though, my main background is construction and environmental work, that sort of thing. So you like chalk and cheese, I know, but that's what everybody used to say to me, but that's just the way I'm wired. So, what can I do? But pretty much, I started playing around with it straight away because it was, one, it interested me, and two, I could, I guess see, I don't know, there was just something inside of me that just said, this is something you need to be involved with. And so I guess basically I was able to run into you. I did one of your 3-day, boot camp, we'll call it, but 3-day things back then, and realized that there was a lot more I needed to learn from that point forward. And because I guess like everybody, when you first start using it and you're just using ChatGPT, didn't even know about Claude at that stage. It was only ChatGPT. So I was like everybody else and saying, write me a post for this, and I thought, this is bloody brilliant, and I copy and paste that, and it sounded all right, so I copy and paste it and stick it into my social media and get crickets, of course. But it was I guess spending that bit of time with you, those few days with you, and then obviously learning how to I guess feed it the information that it needed to get instead of getting garbage out all the time, get that decent stuff out. And then obviously from there, that just lit another fire inside of my soul. And, I ran into other people, thanks to you, Jeff J. Hunter, a little bit of Jonathan Mask. He sort of probably came into it a little bit later for me, but I've really been a big fan of obviously what I've learned from you, but of Jeff J. Hunter as well, and the personalization of creating AI personas, and I guess there's sort of two ways of doing those, which is very similar. The AI personas are very similar to what you taught me originally, and
Yeah.
then obviously then training them and putting them into custom GPTs, and that's where the real thing came for me. It was learning how to do that, learning that I could actually have control over it, because originally when we first started with the custom with ChatGPT, you could put stuff in there and you would get reasonable answers out of it, but the more people used it, the more garbage went into its training, so the more garbage came out. So then that led us to needing to have a better way excuse me, of controlling that, and that was one of the things that I learnt, was the best way to control it was is to give it the data. And that's why for me data has been a very important part of my construction of my custom GPTs. And everybody goes on about being a prompt engineer and all the rest of it, and while yes, if you're using the generic systems, I guess, then prompt engineering probably comes into play, and but even with your custom GPTs, a little bit better prompt going to give you a little bit better answer. But I guess the biggest thing for me, and one of the things that I have managed to build, and I took that off ChatGPT or OpenAI, to be honest, is a system where people are basically just filling in a form with their information. And then because of the training that the custom GPTs have had, they give you really real brilliant answers because of the training data and stuff like that. So I guess I was just trying to make that simplicity there for people. But now we've advanced that far. It's crazy. I mean, you can talk to the thing now with a microphone. You couldn't do that back then.
Right.
So we're just going ahead in leaps and bounds. So, I've pretty much known all along that there's going to be something amazing coming out of it. And, every day that we turn around, there's more and more coming out of it.
Yeah. And we're into this, but whilst you're talking about custom GPTs, I want to basically just quickly share with people, and get you to explain what this one here that you've built here with the VO prompt builder. Like, I love how you can just get solution focused and you're wanting to help streamline, that, and, from start to end product, and just be a service to help our audience in that space. So just listen, this is a custom GPT that you built, and, we've actually got this for sale for just $5 at the moment. But explain, what's the end result that you're hoping people to achieve with this customer GPT, and why did you put it all together for us?
Okay, I think you're sharing the wrong screen, buddy.
Sharing the wrong screen.
Up there.
I do. Let me bring up the right one. Why isn't it?
That's okay. Well,
let's try.
I guess
this. There we go.
I guess the whole purpose of building it, well, there's two options there. There's there's the prompter, which gives you a bit more background and gives you shows you how things are a little bit I guess created to make it easier for people to create prompts that are going to give them good results. And that prompt is actually not just for VO3; it does several different
Soar and a lot of the other videos, right?
And Kling and all that sort of stuff on there. And that's that was basically just for people who aren't sure, how to get started, how to prompt it so they're going to get decent results, and that was the whole idea. I created that. And then, for people that are a little bit more familiar, the same thing. It was, you just basically type into the custom GPT what you want, and it'll spit you out a fully formatted prompt that's suitable for VO3 in particular. But again, they can be used on any of the video creators, like Kling and
you've got Kling, well. Sora, VO, Run, Lunar Dream, Pixel Labs. So anything that really requires a prompt to be able to help get the job done.
Correct. And I guess, and the background behind that was, I guess, one, a little bit of training that I did from, my other good friend, Jeff J. Hunter. But I could see a need with, I guess every time something gets released and all the big boys get involved and it gets pushed, everybody wants to be a part of it. So everybody's gone, wow, okay, now I can actually make videos with sound. But if I type into it, give me a dog barking on the beach. Well, yeah, it'll probably give you a dog barking on the beach, but what the heck are you going to use that for? Except to amuse yourself for 5 seconds. But if you want to actually create, I guess, relevant content or, commercials for yourself or, whatever they may be, something that's a bit more tangible and a bit more
Needs a bit more structure to it,
just
right?
to
So
get-
we need to
yeah,
highlight the
exactly.
scene. We need to highlight the characters. We need to highlight the audio captions, the screenshots, the run, the storyboard of it all. And so instead of rather try and have to be a prompt engineer to work all that out, you've put together a custom GPT to get people to answer a couple of questions, and it basically creates the prompt for them, right?
Correct. If you actually, well, it's amazing when you dive right into it, even like with images and videos, even, more particular because of how important everything is, like you said, you've got what style of, a camera do you want to use? How do you want that motion flowing through that camera? How do you want the character to move? What
Yeah. Do
lighting
you
do
want
you
the
want
camera
to
to the left? Do you want the camera to the right? Do you want
exactly.
it
There's
to
just,
the top?
yeah.
Yeah.
That's why we used to pay, and well, some people probably start paying, movie director. Well, not movie director, but I guess, well, they probably are movie directors even to be able to make decent commercials for TV and stuff like that.
Yeah.
They would have to have that background because it is just so complicated in what you've got to do, to be honest. But now with the power of AI, and it just makes it so much easier for everybody to have that opportunity. So it doesn't have to, you don't have to be work in a recording studio or be a filmmaker. You can actually now go out and create decent videos that are going to be beneficial for your business and your audience, and that's what it's all about. So for me, I build all these things, and really it's just to help people make the process easier for them. It's the same with the image ones and the writing ones and everything else that I do. It's just to make everybody's life easier, to be honest.
Yeah. And
Give
Harold,
everybody an even playing field.
yeah, I can see Harold's just answer a question here. How do I find these videos? Well, Harold, that's what we're basically saying. Come to people like us and we'll teach you how to do this. We're running a 30-day program starting on July 25th. At the moment, we've got an early bird special. You can come join the program. It's only $199. And, I paid tens of thousands of dollars in training like this before. And we've lowered the price down so we can get the information out to the masses in that space. And we teach you how to do this step by step, hold your hand almost so you can figure it all out. And so instead of having to try and figure it out for yourself, we're immersed in this space, we're, 25 years of combined experience. We know where to look. And it's that whole learn, do, teach model. And whilst I'm talking about that, trying to find that funnel, Dave, just quickly, let's just talk about that 30-day program and what we're helping people to achieve with that. What's the main goal that we're going to be achieving, mate?
Well, I guess we're basically going to be taking them through our voice framework to enable them, I guess, really to create content that's, not going to blend in with the crowd. It's going to make them stand out. It's going to come from their heart. They're going to learn how to, I guess, a basic run through the customer value journey. But it's really, how you can use those aspects of the voice framework to really dive into the psychological side of things, create content that really resonates with the heart of your audience. And then, from that, we're then going to show you how to, put that into images and videos, whether they be, 5-second, 10-second, 20-second commercials, whether they're, short TikTok reels, all that sort of stuff. So, there's just so much they're going to learn in 30 days that they probably wish they had 60 days to learn it or 90 days to learn it. But
that's the thing, right? They're going to have the access to the replays and go back over it and all that sort of thing. We're just doing it 30 days because that's how we're unfolding and delivering the information. But this is information that you'll be able to go back and 5, 10, 20 times, however long it takes for you to follow the bouncing ball. And
Exactly.
it's not just about creating content for the sake of creating content. Like there's enough garbage out there, right? This is
Exactly.
about creating content with purpose and with story and with connection, with, you know, taking people on that customer value journey to take them from cold to sold in that
Exactly.
space. So, you know, there are loads of different tools out there. There's loads of different ways to do this with the prompting side of things, but we're just going to be sharing, you know, our knowledge base of how we operate on a day-to-day basis, you know, and teach you everything we know in that content marketing space over that 30-day period.
Exactly. So,
Dave,
um,
let's come back to your story a little bit here and your journey. So, what were some of the light bulb moments early on that showed you how AI can completely transform marketing and productivity and even communication?
wow, that's a good one. I guess the speed of which you were able to get stuff out to market, is
Mm,
probably the biggest thing is productivity. You know, it was a matter of, you could sit there on a Sunday afternoon and prepare, a week or maybe only a couple of days, depending on, how long it took you to work out how to create your content. And we had a few programs out there where, you could set them up and they would, auto post to your page and all that sort of stuff, which was helpful. But, you know, once you learn how to leverage the power of AI, I do most of my posting on the run, on the fly. Like
yes, so
I could be
right.
sitting, I could be sitting there scrolling through Facebook and go, "Oh, that looks all right. Okay, what am I going to do with that?" And about 2 minutes later, I've got an image and a post that's completely, different, but might have the same sort of story behind it, out into the world, and that's the difference. It's what it went from, I guess, initially it went just from, I guess, text, and then you used to get text and you'd probably put a Canva, an image you created on Canva with it, or a stock image you could put with it. Then we had DALI 3 and a few others, Bing Image Generator and Leonardo and Mid Journey, all those sort of things that have come to the fray, and and the quality of the image has just kept improving and improving, and now you've got things like Whisk, so Google, I think it's Imagine 4, and obviously Mid Journey's jumped on the bandwagon where you can actually animate your images in there now as well. You've got, other software platforms like Foul AI where you can get access to everything, and you're only paying for what you use.
Yeah, right.
It's probably a little bit more complicated, but just the ability to be able to create text, create images, and now decent videos as well. It's just, I
I
guess
know,
that
right?
was the thing at the start of it.
And I just want to, whilst you're talking about that, just want to show them an example of where it is here. Like, let me just I post so much. Here we go. I'll just play around with something gimmicky here, but it's about entertaining that space. So it's not always about marketing, not always about sales.
Correct.
It's about a bit of fun
Exactly.
too. So, like, I saw this image of Rio de, the statue of Jesus over Brazil, Rio there, and I uploaded it to a tool called VO to have a bit of create a bit of animation. So what I said was, as I turned Jesus into a Jedi here and bring some Star Wars theme to it, and the stormtroopers, and you can see here basically saying, "It's over Brazil. I have the high ground."
Yeah,
Just
that
quickly
is a
play
bit of fun, and I guess, and that's the thing. Like you said, it's not always about marketing. Yeah, it's also about having a bit of fun. Putting a
Yeah,
bit of
but
enjoyment, a bit of comedy out there.
the intention here is to lead by example and show others what
Correct.
is possible in this space, and get into that creative space. Let's just quickly just watch this little 8-second clip. So that was the image. I saw the image online.
Yep.
That's not my original image. I copied and pasted that into VO. And then I gave it a bit of a prompt here to get my instruction. The prompt was really basic. Now, if I spent a bit more time with it, I could get a lot more detail in it. But I just wanted to do that. And I did this in literally 2 minutes. And this is the end product.
It's over, Brazil. I have the HIIH ground. It's over, Brazil.
Right. So you can see, like, even the it's over Brazil. I have the HIIH ground. Like, it's quirky. It's gimmicky. AI is not 100% there with all the wording, but it shows you what's possible, and in that space, right?
And like you said, it only took you a couple of minutes. So yeah, it's just great to see how things have advanced. But I guess the thing is how fast they're advancing on a daily basis. I mean, there's
Right.
you've got the competition wars out there at the moment with video. There's now I forget what it's called, but there's a Chinese model that's just been released as well, which is going to be a big competitor VO3 and to
Hmm.
Kling, I believe, and obviously to Sora as well. And as things get more and more heated up and they refine, I guess these software's better, these AIs better, then it's just going to be amazing at what we're going to be able to produce.
Yeah,
Sitting
well,
behind a keyboard.
competition breeds progress. Like it helps to
Yeah.
to be faster in that place. And this is the thing that's just fascinating. Like we've been immersed in this now for 2.5, 3 years, but what's happened in the last 6 months is just mind blowing. So Dave, what do you think's been the biggest shift in AI over the last 6 months that people still don't realize?
Probably the AI agents,
Mm.
really. How they come things like Operator and Manus, and there's hundreds of others out there. I'm just talking about the two probably more well-known ones that are actually useful. That they can be actually set up to autonomously do stuff for you. And I believe I think Claude on its desktop version, you can get it to do stuff too. You can even connect it to it now. The only one that's lagging a little bit there, and I mean you can do it, but it's a little bit more tricky, is OpenAI, but with their like your custom GPTs and that, and that's the thing that I'm really waiting for, or really trying to hammer home or to get into and work out is how, because I know my custom GPTs are so bloody good, I want to know how I can make them their own little bots, so they
Yeah,
can do
right.
the work autonomously. So I
So,
mean
so
there are
for
ways. But
for the layman out there that doesn't understand the term AI agent, what does that actually mean? And what is the purpose of an AI agent and how does it work?
well, I guess the AI agents are, I guess, basically chatbots, I suppose, that can actually do work without you give them one lot of instructions, or once you get them set up and they're properly set up, well, from that initial prompt they can make their own decisions and they can go and complete the work for you. So if I want to have, say, I don't know, I get Menace now, I think it is, I can get it to go into say LinkedIn, for instance, and I can get it to scroll for particular people, and I can get it to actually get the information for those particular people. I can get them to put it onto a Word document. Then I can get it to us. They've got the details there for me to have in a data space, and then they can also create. It can also then create an opening message for them, and it can actually just automatically post it. Or if you're a bit more like me, what you get it to do is to get it to be approved before you post it, so that you're not looking like an
Yeah, right.
idiot. Because they can still make you look like an idiot. But
Right.
that's
saw
crazy.
a real world example of this at in a drive-through in Melbourne at a store called Hungry Jack's. I'm not sure
Oh
about
wow.
our American friends, and so basically this was a digital board. It had the menu there, like LLD screen. They gave you the menu that was on order for Hungry Jack's for all their burgers and that type of thing. And this is a job that's been replaced today. Because at the other end of that you used to drive up, you used to have the speaker box that you're speaking to a person at the other end of it to get your order, and then you drive through to the window and you pay and all this. Well, this is all happening on this one screen, and it's an AI agent communicating back to the driver to take their order, and it's like having a two-way conversation. I kid you not, it felt like a human experience. And so they ordered it, they asked for correction. Is this right? No, it's not. Okay, cool. And like it was still a little bit buggy, but you can see it got there pretty quickly. And
Yeah.
so it took the person's order. Which wasn't just a simple order. It was like an order for a family, and then they paid for it on the screen with a tap and pass, and then they went
Yeah.
to the drive-thru, picked up their order, and they're out. Now that's
Yeah.
a job. That's
Crazy.
probably one or two jobs that have been taken already from
Yeah.
the fast food industry with AI agents kicking into gear.
Yeah, and without trying to scare people, because I think we all need to work out how to jump on the bandwagon and learn how we can use it to benefit us, because there are going to be
Right.
jobs that are going. I mean, it's the same with the the manufacturing market. Where for many years the car market's used automated robots to help
Hmm.
assemble cars and stuff like that. But the thing now is that the technology has become that advanced that they can send an actual little robot to go and select the part that it needs and brings it over, puts it like. So they really only probably need one person in the factory where they needed 50 before, because they just need somebody that can make sure that this robot's doing what it's supposed to. And that's going to go shortly too, because the robots will be managing the robots. So,
right. Managing robots, right? But this hasn't been just happening overnight. Like, this has been happening for 20 years. Like,
exactly.
I'm a cabinet maker by trade, and I'm a cabinet maker by trade. And when I go back about 25 years ago now, and I did my apprenticeship, I sort of saw the revolution there of a little bit of robotics starting to kick in. As I was finishing my apprenticeship, the factory that I worked at, they brought in this great big thing called a BSE. And so a BSE is like a computerized router, pretty much, a CRM thing. And what it did, so I used to be the person who used to get the router and cut cut the wood and cut the bed head frames and the style and all that, and do all of that. And it used to take me probably around about 2.5 hours to 3 hours to do a bed head. Well, this BSE came in, and you just put the plank of the panel there, and it does it all in about 2 minutes. And so what I could do in 3 hours, it was probably doing 30 of these bed heads compared to what I did. And that was 20 years ago. Like,
exactly,
this has been on a journey. Like, it's not something that's just happening overnight. It's something it's unfolding very, very fast right now.
As the technology improves, that's why. Yeah,
that's it, right? And we can either learn to embrace it and get, or we can get fearful. But these revolutions have happened, over and over and over again. And the ones who embrace it are the ones who help pioneer the new path forward, are normally the ones that really win at the other side of it, right? So,
well, I've been talking to some people that are some pretty big players that in the industry. They've been using this stuff for like 20 years before we known it as AI. I guess it's probably like the internet. It's like the internet revolution. We used to use computers and we type in DOS and things would happen. Then all of a sudden, in whatever it was, 1990 something, Windows came out, and then that just made it accessible to everybody, and still some people are sort of fighting against it and all the rest of it. But as we, stories, unfolded now and everybody uses it, we sort of can't live without it, so to speak. AI is going to be the same.
Like we can see any product that comes to mass market, there's always the early adopters, there's always the pioneers, there's always the adventurers before it turns into mass market. Like, we're just in that stage right now where AI is really taken mainstream, and people
we're probably still just in that early adopter sort of stage with a lot of things, as far as businesses taking it up and stuff like that. But now that with the pace,
we're heading into that mainstream. That's what I mean. Where we're jumping that divide into mainstream, where it's really going to start to ramp up. And what we've seen in the last 2 years is going to be nothing compared to what we see in the next 6 months.
Well, that's right. Well, I'm actually trying to get hold of Perplexity's new browser, but I got to get on a wait list.
I'm on the waiting list for that too. But that's fascinating. I saw Jonathan Mars talk about the browser wars of the 90s, and we're about to see another revolution of browsers. And I had a bit of an explanation there on Perplexity's new browser, just for going through their sales page, and just mind blowing. I actually can't wait to get access to that and get off that waiting list, and away we go.
Yeah, well, I want to be interested to see. I want to see how they sort of compare. Obviously their search results I think are going to be way better, but it's not going to be long before Google and Firefox and everybody else jumps on board as well. Internet Explorer now, it's Edge or something. That's how long it's been since I've used that one. But no offense, Microsoft, but your browser sucks. So these things is going to make our search, I guess the results so much better. I mean, you can already see it with Perplexity, without even being.
I can't remember the last time I used Google search engine. I think mine's been ChatGPT or Perplexity for the last 6 months at least.
Yeah, I'm still a bit slow. I use a mixture of them. Depends what I've got open and what I'm looking for. To be honest,
I got back from Japan, right? So we were traveling around Japan there a couple of weeks ago, and prior to that, I probably would have had a travel agent, do all my planning for me and all that sort of thing. We use ChatGPT, we use Google Maps, we use Google Translate, and we did it all on our own. Like, yes, there were some times that we hopped on the wrong train and we had to go to the next stop and figure it out, but it was made a part of the adventure. There wasn't one time that we felt like we were out of control or overwhelmed, because if I had
No.
a question, I went to ChatGPT and I typed out, this is where we're at, this is what we're doing, and it gave me the instructions step by step for the next thing to do. And it's like,
It's crazy, isn't it? It's
I
amazing.
I don't need a travel agent anymore. Like that supported me on that journey. It was really brilliant.
I guess it's I guess it comes back to the thing of it. It won't be too long. I guess if you've done a little bit of travel and you've got a little bit of know-how in the AI space where you can manage to get through on your own. I guess for the people that are probably a little bit lazier, that are going to still go to a travel agent and get that sort of full
Right.
service delivery. But it just goes to show you how far that technology's come and where we're sort of heading to. And the thing is with I guess your social media, your content marketing, and that what's coming and giving us the ability to do a lot of this stuff. It's really fascinating, really great, but it's really scary for some people. So,
Well, it can be scary, or it can be great and fascinating. Embrace it, right? So I know that the most people that are probably going to get hung up and complain about this, there's probably one thing that I can point out, and that's their pride and ego that's been hurt. They're
Right.
losing a sense of control. They're losing a sense of power, and they're trying to defend that power versus, okay, now how can I partner with this technology and go and help more people with it? And I think that's going to be the big thing that stops a lot of people embracing this space. It's probably just going to be their pride and ego.
Yeah, that's right. Just almost say ignorance and
Yeah,
and non-acceptance, I suppose. And the thing is once they actually work it out that if it's used wisely, it's gonna I guess give them leverage, give them power, amplify their if marketing term would be amplify or elevate their voice, that sort of thing. But like the productivity side of things, and if and what when I've spoken to business people, what I try and emphasize is, even like with, giving their staff custom GPTs or AI personas to improve their workflow, is they should be, I don't know, so many people say, but it's AI, it's this, it's that. Well, so what if it's AI? Who cares whether it's written by AI? Is the content good? Is the end result what you want? And how
yeah.
much faster did you get it?
I did say that. I had a
Like,
I had a guy reach
frustrating.
out to me. I had a guy to my inbox the other day, and he came from the right space and the right heart. He said, "Hey Jeff, I'm loving your content, but I just want you to lose the hyphenated things between the words. How you got the
Hmm.
extra emphasis and the extra hyphens and all that sort of thing." And because he said, "Oh, you can tell 100 miles away that's AI," and that was my exact response. So what? Because the
I
content itself, you can still read it. It's actually better articulated than I probably do myself. And it's still me putting my input, my thoughts together. I don't give a shit really about those little hyphens and
Well,
emphasis.
it's actually funny you mentioned that, because I've spent a bit of time and I've got rid of it out of a few of my AIs, but I'll still
Right?
throw one in every now and again. But then I actually realized
I used to
when I'm
do it all
typing
before
message,
AI anyway.
that's exactly how I type messages.
Yeah,
So if
exactly, right?
somebody, so I'm actually worrying about something that I actually do myself anyway. I'm worrying that AI is doing it, yet I
Yeah,
bloody
yeah,
do it
yeah.
anyway, because I
I
notice
used
when I
to,
type a message to somebody in Messenger, I instead of putting a comma or whatever, or being lazy and hitting the shift and enter button to put it on the
right.
next line, I'll just put a dash and then continue on. And then I'm thinking, I just spent
Exactly,
all this
right?
time training this bloody thing to stop it talking like me. What the heck? I'm trying to get it to talk like me, and I'm stopping it from talking like me.
I know, and
Yeah,
it's so funny. And people forget, AI has been trained off of human written content.
people. That's right. I've been trained by the robots.
I find
Yeah,
it fascinating. We're in this
yeah,
space that, people are trying to mimic human behavior and avoid looking like AI. Well, so what? Like, at the end of the
that's
day,
it.
the end job, the main outcome is getting achieved, right? That's the main thing
Correct.
to be focused on.
Yes, that's right. Okay, when and, you can understand now. You look at somebody's social media posts on Facebook and that, and yes, they got about 10 times more emojis than they probably should have, and that sort of thing. But then
Yeah,
again, you take that over to Instagram, and that's how Instagram operates. So
exactly,
it's
right?
horses for
But
courses. So
saying that too, there is a space where there's the tipping point, and you can just go create generic, rubbish content that does sound robotic, and you haven't put
correct.
any time or effort into it to do your own research, to do your own fact checking. and all that sort of thing. And then
Yeah,
that's
you're
where
in
you
the
use
loop.
AI as a replacement. And I think that's where this whole comment comes up, right? Is people are getting a little bit anti-AI content because they can see that there's so much rubbish out there. And but
Correct. Yeah.
if you're putting your heart and if you're using AI as an extension, as a partnership to what you're having to offer, then that is where that AI that serves you versus trying to replace you.
Exactly right, and that's the whole thing, and that's what you want it to do. You want it to, amplify your voice. To speak from your heart. Take that, and that's what I found. Is I found that things that, like you said before, that I'm trying to articulate, and my brain will be thinking about 300 different things, and I'll just go and I'll start putting things down, and then I'll just get stuck and I'll stop. Whereas now I found if I've got a few ideas and I put them into Chat GPT or one of my GPTs that knows what's going on, then it'll give me something to work on. And I go, oh,
Yeah,
okay, that's what I was trying to say. Yep, that's pretty good.
yeah, yeah.
Now
yeah.
we add this, we
That's
add this to it.
that extension, right?
Exactly. And, and instead of being worried about it, that, it's gonna, well, take my job, so to speak. I want to train it so that, I'm its best buddy. So, when the robots come, they're going to say, leave him alone. He's good, that bloke. We like him. Look after him. They're going to come put their arm around me and say, come with us, Dave. You're right.
We've got an intimate relationship. We're all good.
Yeah, exactly, buddy. Exactly.
So let's just shift gears a little bit. If someone's just getting started in this space, because I know that you and I are pretty deep down the rabbit hole, and this is something that we live and breathe, right? We have been pretty close now in this space for the last 2 years. But for someone who's just getting new to this space, and there's still good 85% of the population that's never even explored AI, where should they begin without getting overwhelmed?
Well, I think just ChatGPT is probably the most obvious one, or Gemini. I mean, most people have got Google Workspace, which nobody talks about much. And to be honest, it's pretty mind blowing the stuff that they're producing at the moment. So if you've got a Google Workspace,
pretty fascinating.
You get access to Gemini. So either Gemini or OpenAI, so ChatGPT, and I think they should invest in themselves, whether they invest time and go and watch YouTube videos, I guess. But you need to be selective on who you actually watch on YouTube as well, like with everything. Or they could, I guess, we've got our academy that we do as well. Not just this 30-day sprint that we're doing. We've got an academy that does a 8-week cycle. Sorry, not 6-week cycle. Where it gives you all the basics. It's there for beginners. That's one of our beginner entry points, and it explains how to set it up and how to use it and how to start making it sound like you and all that sort of stuff. And then obviously we've got other programs after that. But if that was where I was going to start, I'm glad I started there. I started there when it was a 3-day challenge, so I'll vouch for it, because without that interaction with you and learning that, I'd probably be still typing crap into ChatGPT and getting crap out of it. So, it's that's probably a really good starting point. No, it's like everything. You make a small investment, or you give up your time. So,
yeah, that's right. You do this stuff by yourself by getting onto Google University and whatnot. But my question for you is, if that was the case, why haven't you done it already? Most people need that community where they've got the place where they can do the discovery and the messy learning together versus trying to figure it out for themselves. And that's what the LLD Academy is all about. It's about helping you to find your voice, but how to use AI and content marketing and traction marketing to be able to help you to build a personal brand in that space. So, Dave, let's move to the future here a little bit. Let's focus on that and we'll wrap this interview up. But, we've got our future goggles on. Where do you see AI heading in the next 6 to 12 months that's going to blow people's minds?
I think you'll be able to just tell an AI agent what you want done, and it'll do it. As simple as that. Especially when it comes to, I think there's a few things that are, and I think it's a bit of a shame that, Facebook, for instance, it's really hard to be able to post onto your personal profile. You got to have a business page, or some things you can post into a group. and that sort of stuff. And I think they really need to take a good look at themselves and get rid of that restriction, so that people can do it, because I can understand probably why they've done it, because they don't want too much garbage on there. But still, the people that are putting garbage on there are still putting it on there anyway, so it doesn't really matter if you ask
Mm.
me. But there's a few things that are putting little bits of blockers in, but you can already get like you said. Well, instead of you having to use ChatGPT, there's already agents out there that you can tell now your operator, menace, those sort of things, and I'm sure there's more with Perplexity and that as well. But you can actually get them now, and if you want, if you're brave enough to give them your credit card details, they'll book you a ticket to wherever you want to go. They'll book you accommodation. They'll book your meals if you need to. They'll book you a ticket back home, and they'll give it all to you and say, "There, yeah, that's what you got to do. That's you turn up here and you'll be right."
I really envisioned the cartoon that we grew up with called the Jetsons.
Jetsons.
We've got the robot maid serving us, and we've got the flying cars going.
Well, they're already doing that in China, I think it is, or it might be Japan, one of the two, or both. There's already they're sending up people's food meals to their rooms with little robots. They come out of the elevator on their own, and you open up the top, and there's your meal in there. You take it out, and then it toddles off and goes back down. And
it's fascinating. Like when we got off the airport at Narita Airport in Tokyo, the first thing that we're greeted with was this robot, and it was a security guard. And it's going up and down. It's got these 3 cameras. Its head spinning around with these cameras and all that sort of thing. But it would have been, probably someone in a central, what do they call them, watchtowers, where they've got all the cameras there. And there's this robot going up and down. And it said security guard, the robot. We said to Harrison, said, "Oh my God, like we just feel like we just come 30 years into the future." In this space. I
was watching something the other day. There's one running. I think it's just a YouTube. Sorry, not a YouTube, a Facebook clip of something. But there's one in China. It was running up and down the side of the road. Like running up, and then it stopped. Turning. I think they're obviously testing how it could go on uneven ground, and man, it was pretty amazing. They don't look the best at the moment, but there's some of them now that some of the stuff with Elon Musk and that, and other companies like that are doing making them look as human as they can, I guess. Although they're still made out of metal, but some of the voice stuff that's coming out now, once upon a time, like I've sort of stayed away from it a little bit, because a lot of the phone calls and that have sounded really generic. But I guess we got to get to a point where we got to accept, do you want somebody that sounds a little bit like a robot but solve your problem, or do you want to sit on the phone for 2 hours waiting for a human to pick it up? So
the reality is
bit of compromise.
Those of us who don't embrace it are going to be left behind by those who do. And so I find that this is a fascinating time that we're in, though, because the world is starving for connection. It's starving for human touch. It's starving for love. But in this space, there's a lot of people going, further and further away from that. So what do you think ethical and value-driven creators like you and I and businesses need to be thinking about as AI becomes even more embedded in today's daily life?
I'll put it simply: keep the human in the loop. Simple as that, really. Because there's going to be some Monday data entry or whatever. You don't need a human in the loop. You can away you go. But if you're trying to have conversations with people, you're trying to express your brand and all that sort of stuff. Customer service, can be mostly done, through chatbots on your website and all that sort of stuff, or on a phone call. But I think you've always got to have that option there. If somebody wants to talk to a human, they've got to be able to talk to a human. And you got to be able to feed that information.
Keep the human in the loop. For me, I think it's high tech but high human touch. It's not an either or conversation. It's an and conversation. And if we can help the other person on the other end get to the solution, get to the outcome, get to the result faster than what it would have been, then I think that's where we need to embrace it, right? Rather than getting on a bank and having to wait there for an hour to get there, we could have someone go through a bit of a bottleneck, speed up that whole process and get them to the right person at the right time. And I think that's where AI is going to be really amazing, is eliminating these bottlenecks to help you get the outcome and result faster, right?
Yeah, definitely. That's great. You go a website, and yes, this little thing pops up down the bottom. And you think, oh, bloody hell, not again. What's this bastard going to try and sell me?
Yeah.
But, people have actually cottoned on that, they're training them better to sort of ask more questions and be more conversational instead of having them on there as direct sell bots. They're more there for that
Right.
customer service. And the
Yeah.
thing now, instead of having that little bubble pop up, you can actually get a little person pop up if you want to, and they can actually talk to you. So, you can actually talk to them backwards.
Yeah, a little AI avatar. Yeah.
Yeah. So, the technology, I guess as humans, we're trying to use the technology, but we're trying to, I guess, spend probably in some aspects too much time to make them look and feel human.
Yeah.
Not
I agree with
accepting
that.
what they are. Like,
Yeah, and that's
the
why
robots,
I talk a lot about my caffeinated kangaroo, right? Because you can tell that it's AI generated. I'm not trying to
for sure.
hide. I'm not trying to hide behind the fact that I'm using AI. I'm actually
No, neither do
embracing
I.
leading at the front with it. Whereas I can see these some of these people using these deep fake sort of clone versions of it all, or AI twinning as they call it sometimes that space. And for me, I think that's where we cross the divide of trying to hide behind that. I can sit back in my couch potato chair and watch TV while my AI does my work for me. And I
And
think
that's
that's
cool. And I'm going to be excited when I get mine done. But people will know that it's not me. I'll tell them I don't care. Like,
right. So I love to live by the philosophy that I'm looking to work myself out of jobs so I can go have either a person or an AI agent or something like that to delegate those everyday sort of jobs, the bottlenecks, so I can be freed up and go play a bigger and serve a bigger, wider space and being more in that human space, if you will. It's funny that we're
Yeah.
using terms like human space.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? It'll be much longer. It'll be more and more popular because the robots will be saying it.
I know, right? It's the us versus them divide.
Yeah.
So,
I've seen actually.
let's talk about this for a second, right? Because jobs will be taken away. Humanity is going to transform, and I believe creativity is going to be unlocked. So do you think AI is going to really? Well, it is going to replace people. That's a given. We've talked about stories of that today. So, but how do you think those people who amplify it will embrace it? What do you think is going to be the next space of that evolution?
Right. Well, I'll just go back one step. But the thing is yes, we're in a changing world, and it's a new revolution, I suppose, in the way of how things are progressing. But the thing is, yes, jobs will be replaced, but other opportunities are going to open up for those people.
Yeah.
You can't really replace 40 years or 30 years of experience and knowledge that's in somebody's brain.
Right.
So we've got to adapt. That's all we've got to do. We don't need to be scared of it. We don't going to say, oh, well, AI is going to take my job because I fold sheets all day or whatever it is. Okay, well, what else have you learnt in that 30 years or whatever it is of folding sheets every day in a factory? I'm sure you've learnt lots of things,
Yeah.
So they just need to twist those skills that they've learnt and embrace them, and allow AI to help them.
I love watching my wife. I love watching Sarah, my beautiful wife's journey at the moment, right? She's just, like 12 months ago, we closed down the massage clinic. She'd been a massage therapist for 30 years, still beautiful massage therapist, but she's got all that knowledge and all that experience of helping people go through a lot of turmoil. And now she's positioning herself as a resilience and empowerment coach. And she's using AI to work out what her next steps are, to plan all that out, to build her brand around that. She's shifting from being this one that's always hands-on, always has to be in that same spot in a geological location to run a business, to shifting more over to as a thought leader position, going global and bigger, wider, expansive impact in that space. And this is sort of, it creates and unlocks, those possibilities that were probably not there before. And this is the thing, it's a speed to implementation to be able to bring something like that to life. Exactly. So let's move here into this page, and we'll look at wrapping this interview up. But what are some of the new skill sets of tomorrow's entrepreneur really needs to focus on? Like, how do we future-proof ourselves and our families for this world that we're coming into?
That's a good one. Where'd you pull that one out of left field?
Help me come up with that question before we jump into it. I said I've got an interview going with Dave. You know, he knows this. Here's some interview questions to be able to open up a really deep conversation.
All right, can I have that question again? I'm going to put it into my custom AI. I'll see what it says back to your custom AI. Hey, I think
have robots talking to robots. What are the skill sets of tomorrow's entrepreneur? Like, how do we future-proof ourselves and our families? In your viewpoint?
Yeah, well, from my viewpoint is we really need to embrace AI. We really need to learn how to use it to its advantage. Like need to learn to use it to amplify ourselves, to be, well, yeah, I guess be smarter. You know, articulate ourselves better, get responses sooner, increase our productivity, all that sort of stuff. You know, advance our authority in, you know, if you're in the marketing world and that sort of stuff, or in business. You know, yeah, you know, or you know, it depends if you're a creative person. Well, you're probably you're about to have your world, I guess, explode. I suppose there's so much opportunity because you know the way that these images and videos are, you know, what we're able to do with that now. Somebody that's already got that experience, you know, just like the marketers and so forth and so on, copywriters, you know, good copywriter, you know, can train a GPT to be, you know, an even better than them copywriter. So if they're already good at it, it's going to be even better. You know, and the same thing with, you know, art. You know, a lot of people have got into this, you know, creating art and selling it. You know, there's an opportunity that digital art wasn't a big thing before, you know, and you know, all the artists, you know, went up, you know, probably, you know, up in arms about, oh, you know, it's not real paintings and that and this and that.
Oh,
but there's room for both.
It's the same with the book authors too, right? Like, you know, 12 months ago, I wrote a book in 4 hours. I had all the book authors come and say, oh, no, you didn't. You had AI do it. Well, what I actually did was I transcribed, you know, 12 months worth of content, loaded that up to ChatGPT, and helped me to put together that IP, that intellectual property, if you will, into a book that helped people to leverage social media and social selling and how to embrace AI in that journey. So, yeah, AI supported me, but I wrote the book.
That's right. And it's the same with the, you know, we have all this big kerfuffle with the movie industry and stuff like that. That's, you know, probably been going on for the last couple of years now, you know. And the thing to me is they really need to embrace it. You know, they've got the smarts, you know. If they use their noggin, which they do, you know, they work every day.
Storylines and all of that sort of stuff. Like
exactly right. They've got all the information there, and all that AI is doing is helping them do their job better and easier and less expensive. Like, you know, wake up, stop. Everybody needs to stop fighting against it and embrace it and say, you know, let's run with it. You know, instead of, I guess, you know, what's it going to do to me? What's it going to change it and go, what can I do with it for me?
Yeah, what can I do with it together?
Yeah, like, you know, work with it instead of, you know, fighting it all the time, because you're going to lose the battle. It's simple as that. You'll lose the battle. You won't win the battle. The robots will win the battle.
Out of Dave's mouth, right? You're going to lose the battle, so might as well embrace it. Can't beat them.
Well, you might as well. That's why I'm doing it, because I don't want to lose the battle.
Yeah. Well, Dave, we'll be going on for close. Where you go? Sorry. Yeah, enjoy it.
I was going to say, you know, embrace it, enjoy it, use it to your advantage, work with it. You know, get yourself involved with other people that have worked with it or are doing things or similar to what you want to do, and just, you know, run with it from there. Have some fun. You know, stop making everything about the robots are coming. You know, instead, grab them and give them a hug and say, "Come here, buddy, let's go. Let's do it together."
Well, that's Skynet.
Yeah, I can't wait till I get my own little robot running around that can sit down next to me. I can give him a hug, have a beer with him in the afternoon.
Oh man, I got one of the Elon Musk robots to get in my kitchen and start cooking the meals for me. All right.
Exactly.
Anyway,
fun things we can do.
We can definitely go down a rabbit hole here and spend a whole another hour on this conversation. But mate,
we're almost have to work out pranks to play on the robots.
Well, buddy, this has been absolutely fire as always. You know, I feel like we're just scratching the surface. I really do. But wow, this has been a powerful conversation. So for those, you know, our legends who are listening and watching in, I think this is definitely an interview that needs to go up on the podcast as well. I need, those who are asking, I need to know more. How do we get inside Dave and Jeff's brain? Where is the best place to connect with us? How do we get into the next, LLD Academy? How do we get into our 30-day program? Where do people go, Dave?
I think you put the links in the comments there, didn't you, or on Facebook? But we also got a website. We've got Laptop Lifestyle Dad's website as well. You can connect up with most of the stuff there. Obviously, you can connect with us in the Facebook group, the LLD Academy Facebook group. We're always around social media somewhere. So if you can't find the links, etc., that you're looking for, reach out, have a chat, have a conversation. Jeff loves talking. You wouldn't figure that, would you? He actually loves talking, and squirrel. There's plenty of places to reach out to us. The website, the LLD Academy, the LLD group, Facebook group. Obviously, we're both on social media. You can send us a message, reach out, have a bit of a chat, see what whether you think it's a good fit for you, that sort of stuff. And obviously, this is going live to Facebook and various other places, LinkedIn, YouTube. So, they'll in the comments, I'm sure there'll be links that Jeff's posted there as well. But not necessarily just click on a link. We always find it better if you want to reach out and have a bit of a chat, and if you want to dig in a little bit deeper, feel free, have a bit of a chat, conversation, see where it leads you.
Look, we do like to chat, but we're on mission, we're on purpose, and we're I'm happy to put an hour aside and give you my attention 100%. But we've got jobs to do, and we're very focused. And what we're looking to is just to find people who want to lock arms with us and run, and really embrace this space, like find their voice, elevate their voice, amplify their voice, and build a personal brand around something that they can control. So then when we look at, network and affiliate marketing opportunities, that they're just products on our shelf. And it's about supporting your life by design. And, AI and content marketing is just one piece of that puzzle. And so what we bring together is the strategy, is the implementation, is the community to be able to support you on that journey. So, guys, thank you very much.
Community it is.
Sorry, Dave?
I said, what a wonderful community is. There's so many awesome people in that community of ours that, just the unsung heroes that going about their business and, always offering, help where they can and, just support people, on their journey. And, nobody's in there, with an ego. Everybody's in there, learning from a whatever part of their journey they're on. And they're always, even if they're only just not long started, if they can help somebody, they jump in, they try and help somebody. And then, you've got people that have been there for longer that'll, that do the same thing. And that's what we want. We want people in there that are going to be active and, communicate, help with each other, offer value, because that's what we're trying to do, is offer value. And, if you come on board, that's going to be one of the prerequisites, is you need to offer value to be in our community.
You need to contribute, for sure.
Correct. If you're just going to sit there and be a sun mullet, then it's not really a community. So, we want participants in the community.
Yeah, that's it. So, guys, this has been a wrap. This is the Laptop Lifestyle Dad Show. We're here to help you to stop hustling harder, to start building smarter, with AI as your co-pilot to be able to support you on that journey. And so it's Dave and Jeff here from the Laptop Lifestyle Dads community. Thank you very much for your time. We'll catch you next time, legends, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.
Thanks, guys. Bye.